Welcome to Thrive Deeper, the show based on the Thrive Bible reading guides. This is an ongoing conversation about God's Word with Thrive author, Dr. Matthew Jacoby.
Into the last part of our journey through the Book of Kings and Chronicles.
I tell you, Stu, I was sad last night when I read that last section, and because I finished reading this story with Jeremiah, of course, the prophet Jeremiah, who goes right into when they went to eat, when the survivors, and we're going to tell the story in a moment, when the survivors of the Babylonian defeat, went into Egypt. It's a tragedy, isn't it?
It is.
It's a real tragedy.
Yep.
And I was so sad, to see the prophet Jeremiah, languishing in Egypt, and that's where they started. That's what, they're back where they started. Well, they are, but they're not. Anyway, we'll get there, Stu.
Let's jump in.
Where are we at?
We're at episode 150 of Thrive Deeper. 150, there we go. And today we're going to be finishing off our journey through Kings Chronicles, looking at 2 Kings chapter 23, starting from verse 31 and working through to the end of 2 Kings. And obviously we'll be jumping around looking a bit at Jeremiah and some other places. Judah's reached the end of the road, really, when we're going to discover that as we look through this today. There are sort of 4 final kings that have all turned away from the exclusive worship of God that Josiah, subsequent to Josiah, that he'd kind of tried to bring restoration to that and redemption to that. And then in a series of attacks, obviously Jerusalem's captured, and we'll talk about that, totally destroyed, and the people taken into captivity. So, let's kick in, Matt. Where do we want to begin?
So Josiah does this. I think we should start with Josiah just to get the complete story.
Sure.
And right at the end of Josiah's life, because things are really heating up.
Yes.
In the ancient Near East, you've got this clash between the 3 great powers. I mean, interestingly, Judah is this little nation state that's sandwiched in between these big
Egypt,
boys.
and Assyria.
Babylon, Egypt, and Assyria. And then, of course, there's the Medes and the Persians sort of up in the sort of further east. And so, Judah is sort of stuck between this conflict. So what happens is Pharaoh Necho is heading north to support support Assyria in what is going to climax in the Battle of Carchemish, famous Battle of Carchemish, and he's so it's Assyria and Egypt joining forces against Babylon. And that's going to happen. And now already Assyria is very reduced at this stage and is really on its last legs. But as Pharaoh is traveling north, for some reason, and we're not exactly sure why, Josiah comes out against him because Pharaoh says, "Hey, I've got no quarrel with you. Can I pass through this region?" Josiah says, "No." I mean, he's going to pick a fight with a serious force here. Now, maybe this is because, of course, as we might remember, that Hezekiah had some alliance with Babylon.
Yes.
In that, because already back in Hezekiah's time, it's been a number of decades now that this tension between Babylon, a nation state within what was the Assyrian Empire, is wanting to pull away. Eventually, of course, Babylon is going to take the whole thing, including Egypt. That's where we're going. Sorry to give away the end of the story, Stu, but that's history. So he, it may be that he was siding with Babylon. Maybe he's, kind of betting on betting on Babylon here. Anyway.
It didn't work out that way on this.
Didn't work out because in this battle he dies in the battle and they lose.
Babylonians get pushed back.
That's right.
Exactly.
So Pharaoh Necho defeats him in this battle. He dies. He keeps going north, and it's quite a journey. And immediately his son Josiah's son Jehoiachin gets put on the throne. After 3 months, and probably Pharaoh's now up north in Riblah, up north, sort of in the region of Syria, quite north. He summons Jehoiachin and basically takes him captive. So, because he's annexed that area, so he summons the new king Jehoiachin for some reason. We're not sure why. after just 3 months, Jehoahaz
That's right.
goes to Pharaoh and then is sent back and taken prisoner in Egypt. He's gone.
And it may be that they refuse to pay tribute. I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard to know.
We
It could be
don't
any
know
one of those
we don't know
things.
what's going on there. So then so he places Jehoiakim on the throne. His original name is Eliakim, and he changes his name to Jehoiakim. This is a power play. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm changing your name. It's
my right now to name the
So,
kings.
so the naming in the ancient world, the naming right. When you name something,
Yeah.
it's an expression of your authority. We see this, for example, in Genesis. One of the expressions of God's authority is God named this and he named that and he called this, that. And you think, does it really matter?
And more importantly,
why is it so
again,
emphatic about God naming things?
He got man to name the
Yes,
animals.
and then he got man to name the animals, and then it makes a big deal about that.
Yeah.
And then it says, and whatever Adam named, that was its name. It's like, why are you so emphatic? Well, it's because of this context. It's because in the ancient world, the renaming of someone is an expression of power. So he renames him Jehoiakim. Jehoiakim he's no Josiah. He's a really hard-hearted guy. Really,
It's interesting. None of Josiah's sons really stood up.
No. It's interesting. There are plenty of people, of course, in his kingdom who didn't. Of course, we know Daniel and Shadrach and Meshach and Abednego. They all grew up probably within the royal court. And for some reason, Josiah's own sons really didn't follow suit with this. Jehoiakim is going to become king. Now, what happens is that in 605, the Egyptians are going to lose the battle, and the Assyrians are going to lose the battle of Carchemish, and Babylon is going to come down south to take all of this territory because it's like a land bridge down to Egypt.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So the Egyptians withdraw. They do a lot of damage on the way as they're going south. Now, the Egyptians are still going to be a force to reckon with, and now the kings are sandwiched between essentially Babylon. So Assyria is destroyed. They've got Babylon in the north, Egypt in the south. Who are we going to back? That's a constant issue now. It says here in 2 Kings 24, during Jehoiakim's reign, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, invaded the land. Now, that's because he's won the Battle of Carchemish.
Yes.
So he's taking what was then annexed by Egypt. He's taking that off the Egyptians. He's driving the Egyptians south. They're going to fester down there, and they're going to want to come and engage. And again, Judah's going to be right in the middle.
Yep.
Now, he goes for 3 years. He is a vassal to Nebuchadnezzar. But there's a bit of... See, Nebuchadnezzar has to withdraw because there's some trouble. He has to go back.
Well, the Egyptians are still pushing back.
And one of the reasons he's going to go back is because his father dies, and he's going to take the kingdom, actually. And so he's going to take the opportunity now to rebel, and that's a bad move. And probably, again, Jehoiakim's thinking... okay, Nebuchadnezzar's weakened. Egypt's closer.
Yeah, here's my chance.
Yeah, so here's my chance. I'll rebel. Well, bad, really bad idea. So,
and he died just before the Babylonian onslaught. Actually, when they came back.
That's right. Look, Nebuchadnezzar's occupied elsewhere, but he's going to come back, right? And interestingly, when he eventually comes back, while he's on his way. Good old Jehoiakim dies, right?
Yes.
Leaving his son.
Jehoiachin.
Yeah, while Nebuchadnezzar's on his way, right?
Yep.
And so Jehoiachin is only going to rule for 3 months. By the way, Jehoiakim, is this confusing, Stu?
A little, but I'm
Jehoiakim
Yep.
is the other son of Josiah, takes over from Jehoahaz. So you're going Josiah.
Yes.
Jehoahaz rules for 3 months, gets replaced by Jehoiakim. By Pharaoh of Egypt. Pharaoh loses the battle, withdraws south. Babylon takes the territory. Jehoiakim now becomes a vassal to
Babylon.
Nebuchadnezzar, until, of course, Nebuchadnezzar looks occupied elsewhere. Then Jehoiakim, he thinks, okay, I think Pharaoh looks stronger. I'll rebel against the king of Babylon.
Then dies.
Then he dies, and Jehoiachin, his son, takes over. Remember the story, Stu, in the book of Jeremiah about the king that they took Jeremiah's prophecy to. They wrote all of Jeremiah's prophecies about this threat from the north.
Yep.
The fact that it was going to be Babylon, right? Pretty timely, because he's betting on Egypt. And all of Jeremiah's prophecies are saying, no, it's Babylon,
Yep.
right? And you need to submit to the Babylon because God has given you over to the Babylonians.
Yes.
Do not resist them, right?
Yes.
That's what God is saying through Jeremiah.
Yep.
So they bring the scroll. Jeremiah gets Baruch, his scribe, to write it all down. He reads it to some of the officials. They get really alarmed, like, whoa, we're in a really bad way here. God's given us over. It's interesting, even up to this point, when you read Jeremiah's prophecies, even up to this point, God was saying to them, even now, if you repent, I can hold back this disaster, which is interesting because you get the impression after Manasseh that it's inevitable.
It's a done deal. Yeah.
Now, there's two perspectives on that. In one sense, it's inevitable because God knows they're not going to mend their ways. God knows that Jehoahaz, Jehoiakim, Jehoiachin, and Zedekiah, the next lot of these lot of kings, he knows that they're all going to be hard-hearted, right?
Yep.
And yet, and this is the mystery of the sovereignty of God. So, yes, it's inevitable in some sense, and yet, genuinely, God is saying, if you even now turn back to me, I will ward off this disaster. That's what Jeremiah is saying to these guys. Anyway, so he takes the scroll. So they've got this opportunity, right? The officials then say, hey, we need to now take this to the king. This is really alarming. They take it to the king. As it's being read, Jehoiakim grabs the bit that's just been read, tears it up, throws it into the fire. Reads the next bit, tears it up, throws it into the fire. So Jehoiachin comes to the throne when his father dies.
He's 18 years old.
He's 18 years old. He barely has a chance to put on his clothes and have a shower.
Right.
He's, and the Babylonians come back, and he has to face the wrath,
Consequences of his father's rebellion.
And look,
against
he's
the
not
Babylonians.
gonna hold out. I mean, he just surrenders.
Yep. 3 months basically. And
That's right.
Prisoner.
He's taken prisoner.
And they take all the treasures from the temple. Everything's taken back to Babylon at that point in time.
Everything's taken back to Babylon.
Yeah.
So that's in 597 BC.
Okay. I'll take your word for that.
Yeah, that's in 597 BC. Because this is not the end of the story.
No, that's
You'd think
right.
This should be the end of this. This should be okay. Yep, right. We've
There's the
lost.
last.
Yeah,
Yep.
Jehoiachin gets taken prisoner. That should have been it, but unfortunately, it's not. So, what happens is Nebuchadnezzar puts Zedekiah on the throne in the place of Jehoiachin, who's taken back to Babylon, and Jehoiachin goes back to Babylon with a whole lot of about 10,000 of the leading peoples, including Ezekiel.
Right.
This is when Ezekiel goes back. So, the early chapters of Ezekiel are messages back to the people under Zedekiah, are messages back to them saying, hey, this is why this is happening. Again, don't hold out. Jeremiah is right through this time saying, guys, don't try to hold out. This is inevitable. Ezekiel's saying the same thing. This is happening because of your sins. You're going to have to serve the king of Babylon. Zedekiah, so you've got...
And Daniel was probably another one.
Those
guys were probably ones taken in that first group of 10,000.
That's right. Daniel's there in Babylon. You've already got heaps of people in Babylon, right? And so Zedekiah becomes king. Of course, his name is Mattathiah, but Nebuchadnezzar changes his name to Zedekiah.
Yes.
Zedekiah's got a difficult job here because there are all of this really strong patriotism, and it's being really pumped up by these false prophets who are still there, right?
Yes. Yep.
They're pumping up this patriotism. Jeremiah's counteracting that, saying, no, you
God's
need
plan.
to serve.
Yeah.
Do not rebel against the king of Assyria because it's not going to go well.
Babylon. King of Babylon.
The king of Babylon, sorry, Assyria.
That's right.
King of Babylon. They're thinking, maybe the Egyptians, it's... Jeremiah said, forget about Egypt. They're not going to help you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jeremiah tells them, Egypt is going to be completely destroyed.
Yeah.
Believe me, it's amazing, Jeremiah's prophecies, because again and again and again, it's exactly what happens.
And Jeremiah actually says that to one of the other prophets who tries to say otherwise. He says, well, we'll know, won't we, when everything comes to pass,
that's right,
who the real prophet really is.
Because it actually seemed unlikely. It actually did seem unlikely that that Egypt would fall to Babylon. I mean, who are the Babylonians? They live miles away. They've got this massive supply issue. They've got Egypt's just down in the south. It's a powerful kingdom. Man, it looks unlikely. And Jeremiah said, no, mark my words, Babylon is going to destroy Egypt. Anyway, that's what happens. But look, Zedekiah is in this difficult position. He's got to deal with all of this, all of the factions. They don't even, many people still think Jehoiachin has been taken to Babylon. They still regard him as the real king. Yes. They're thinking, oh no, he's going to come back. He's going to come back. No, he's not going to come back. So Zedekiah.
And Zedekiah is not not in the Davidic line. So in a sense, Jehoiachin is the last Davidic king. Zedekiah is really just someone that, as you said, Neb's just put on the throne and renamed him basically and called him Zedekiah. But he gets tired of it, tries to break free of the Babylonians as well, which again, against Jeremiah's warnings, and he tries to escape. But of course,
well, look, he is Jehoiachin's uncle.
Yes.
Now we're not sure what that means. What that means. He's royal. He's royal enough. That'll do.
Yeah.
So Zedekiah rebels against the king of Babylon. You can imagine, Stu, how absolutely sick of these people. The king of Nebuchadnezzar, he'd be absolutely sick of these people.
Yeah.
It's like, what have I got to do? Everyone else is lying down.
Towing the line.
The line.
And you're this little tiny state.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, what do you got to do? He sends back the forces. They lay siege to the city.
Yeah.
It's a 1.5 siege. Jeremiah all along is saying, guys, don't hold out.
Yeah.
Like you're just going to inflict enormous pain on yourselves. They go through this incredible famine. There's, siege warfare is where they basically circle the city. No one's allowed out, although they are inviting people to come out and surrender because they want to lower morale. Come out. Come
but also it's got to be
captivity.
costing them a lot to maintain the siege. So in a sense, it's in everyone's best interest.
Yeah, that's right.
I guess, but
I mean, that's why cities like Jerusalem held out. They're very difficult. Jerusalem's a very difficult city to break into. You've got to build these massive siege ramps. Got these big, deep valleys all around it, and these massive walls, and so difficult city to break into. But he's building these siege ramps, and eventually he starves the city out. They break through. Zedekiah
tries to escape.
Yeah, there's some indication that Zedekiah sort of wanted to surrender, but he's afraid to do so. When they break through, Zedekiah does a runner.
Yep,
he's no hero. This guy. With some of his soldiers, flees in the night towards the Jordan to the plains of Jericho. Interesting place, Stu, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Divine irony there.
Divine irony, plains of Jericho, because of course that's where they entered. That's where they came into the land initially.
Into Joshua.
That's right. Came from the land of Ammon into, it's across the plains of Jericho. Yeah. Now they're going. Now he's escaping out the same way. Yeah. Nebuchadnezzar's army, they catch up with him. I mean, he's shown no mercy. His sons are killed in front of him. His eyes are plucked out, and he's taken in chains to Babylon, where eventually he dies. So then,
the city's completely destroyed.
Yeah, then the city's completely destroyed. Temple's completely destroyed. I mean, it's just flattened. It's all in ruins. This is when Jeremiah, writes the Book of Lamentations.
Yes.
I mean, it's such a moving book, the Book of Lamentations.
The King's kind of citation of all what's going on, it seems very kind of just factual and academic. There's no real emotion in it.
No,
but you
that's
go
right.
read Lamentations
Yeah.
and you get us insight
really
into how people are feeling.
Yeah. That's what those, the last sections of the Book of Jeremiah and Lamentations. I mean, you really feel this stuff, and you really sense the heart of God through this. because it's like, I'm giving you up for this. I'm giving you up to this. But as it's happening, he's saying, listen, don't give up hope.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to bring you back.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring you back. Right? On the other side of this, there's hope.
Yeah.
It's really amazing, actually, in the book of Jeremiah, how you get this change. So through Jehoiakim's time, it's very much, no, you're going to be destroyed, you're going to be destroyed. But once Jehoiachin is taken into exile, and then while the siege is happening, it's, Jeremiah is saying, because he's in the city,
yes,
and they're all starving and lost hope, but he's saying, no, just give up the fight, because I've given you over to the Babylonians. But there's also this message of hope. I'm not going to give up. I've got that's when, I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans to prosper you and not harm you. That is said
Jeremiah
in the last
29.
days of the siege, when they're all starving to death,
exactly right,
and they're about to lose a battle. Right? Because think about that. We think, look, I know the plans, I have everything, I'm going to not to harm you, but to prosper you. To us, that verse means nothing bad's going to happen.
Yeah, that's right.
Actually,
In the
they
midst of this.
are about to experience the most traumatic thing really the nation has experienced thus far. They're going to be taken into exile, but ultimately God's plans for them are going to, it's going to be amazing as the future goes on. So Jeremiah is there among the
probably
ruins.
just the poorest of people,
And
are
the
left
poorest
behind,
of people are
peasants,
left
people
behind,
who are going to look after the land, who don't have any kind of sense of leadership, or really, in a sense.
Yeah.
Jeremiah gets left as well, probably because there's some level of respect for Jeremiah as a leader, but not a rebellious leader at this point in time anyway. And then of course they carry on, and Babylon then appoint someone else to
Gedaliah. They appoint a governor, basically.
Yes.
This guy's got kind of nobility connections, but he's just a governor. They appoint him. He's saying, listen, okay, let's just keep a low profile here.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. They have a good harvest. It's like, we can, let's just keep the peace. Let's serve the king of Babylon, serve the king of Babylon, and we'll be fine. So you think, and Jeremiah's saying the same.
Which is what God said.
Which is what God has said to them, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, it's actually, this kind of looking good for...
Even though it's not what we hoped it would be, or we thought it was going to be, this is what we've been told to do for now, and so this is what we should do, but no,
that's right.
There's a group that decide.
But then there's this guy, Ishmael.
Yeah.
Interesting that's his name,
isn't
it?
Interesting, isn't it?
There's this guy, Ishmael, who's gone to the king of Ammon and stirred on by the king of Ammon. Ishmael, who's, got some royal connections, is sort of spurred on to go and assassinate Gedaliah and, start, I don't know what the plan. Rise up. I don't know what that's about as far as that plan goes. So, one of Gedaliah's other officials says, listen, you need to watch this guy, Ishmael. Like he means trouble. Gedaliah thinks, no, as if you do. Like what a pointless plan that is. Exactly. Like as if you would do that.
Yeah.
So he actually invites Ishmael for dinner. During the dinner, he gets up, kills Gedaliah.
That's right.
Kills some of the other officials. Kills Babylonian soldiers.
That's right. Yeah.
Right? And then he runs back to Ammon. Escapes back to Ammon. And so you've got, you've got these remaining people
who are now terrified that the Babylonians are going to come for revenge.
Yeah, that's right.
And so they decide, man, we need to get out of here before they get here.
Yeah, that's right. So the guy who, I think his name is Johan, who originally advised about, you got to watch out for this guy. Now he's sort of in charge by default. Yeah. And he says, right, we're out of here.
Let's make a run for it while we can.
We're going to make a run for it because they're going to come back and mate, they're going to completely destroy it. Jeremiah says, no, don't do that. And again, he predicts, yes, he's going to come back, but he'll actually, you'll find favor with the king of Babylon. You'll be able to explain to him this is what happened. Probably because, there are witnesses and we can, he will have none of it there. Yeah. They're terrified, right? So they said, right, that's it. We're going to Egypt. And they take Jeremiah with them.
Yeah.
Jeremiah, Jeremiah says, you really think you're going to escape the king of Babylon and Egypt?
Yeah.
He says, the king of Babylon is going to go and annex Egypt as well.
Yeah.
You're not going to escape from the king of Babylon there. Anyway, what do? They go down to Egypt. The last, the last part of Jeremiah is written in Egypt. Jeremiah's in Egypt.
Yeah.
And
isn't it interesting, again, the irony? It's kind of the reversal of the Exodus. We've just gone back to where we came from.
I read that last part of Jeremiah. I'm just so sad. There he is, and put Jeremiah. They're in Egypt. Right, we're back here again. Great.
Yeah.
But the Book of Kings finishes with a really important note of hope. It says in the 37th year, this is right at the end of the Book of Kings, in the 37th year of the exile of Jehoiachin, king of Judah, the king of Babylon.
Well, Nebuchadnezzar dies.
Yeah, Nebuchadnezzar dies. This old Marduk became king of Babylon. He released Jehoiachin, king of Judah, from prison. He did this on the 27th day. Anyway, gives the date, showing, by the way, that this is all history. Yep. He spoke kindly to him, gave him a seat of honor higher than those of the other kings who were with him in Babylon. So Jehoiachin put aside his prison clothes, and for the rest of his life he ate regularly at the king's table. Day by day, the king gave Jehoiachin a regular allowance as long as he lived. Now,
and Jehoiachin is the last king of the Davidic line at this
last
point
king of the Davidic. Now, the importance of this is that the king, in a sense, symbolizes the people, right? God, right? They've suffered. They've suffered here. This is now God is about restoration. Now this is he finds favor in this place, right?
Yeah.
Jehoiachin was 18 years. As I said previously, he wasn't a good guy back then. But hey, look, he's learned his lesson.
Yeah.
He's there with Ezekiel.
Yes.
And Daniel. I think the guy's probably going okay. Reading between the lines, God shows him favor, and I think that it's this indication, because what you get the sense that the people get turned around. You know what I mean?
They're beginning to understand why this happened.
That's right. They're beginning to understand why this happened, right? And so what is going to happen is there's going to be really something of a revival, spiritual revival among the
exiles.
Among the exiles. Now you're talking like, I don't know, 20,000 people, they're in exile.
Yeah.
Maybe, actually probably 15,000, perhaps closer to that. They're going to, there's going to be a real time of renewal for them. They've got Ezekiel, they've got Daniel. Some of the greatest visions of in the Bible come actually in Babylon.
In this time.
In this time.
Yeah.
So this, the book finishes on this note of hope. This is hope, Now, of course, the book of Chronicles finishes this way. It says, he carried into exile to Babylon the remnant, there's Nebuchadnezzar, who escaped from the sword, and they became servants to him and his successors until the kingdom of Persia came to power. Because remember, this is written later again.
Yes.
The land enjoyed its Sabbath rests until the time of its desolation. It rested until the 70 years were completed in fulfillment of the word of the Lord spoken by Jeremiah. Jeremiah, man.
Jeremiah 29, if you want to look that up.
Jeremiah 29, it's going to be 70 years. Now, from the time when Nebuchadnezzar first annexed and took the first few captives, 605, it's 70 years. It is a remarkable prophecy.
Absolutely.
So it goes on to say, in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, in order to fulfill the word of the Lord spoken by Jeremiah, again, the Lord moved the heart of Cyrus, king of Persia, to make a proclamation throughout his realm, and also to put it into writing, and also put it in writing. This is what Cyrus, king of Persia, says. The Lord, the God of heaven, has given me all the kingdoms of the earth and has appointed me to build a temple for him at Jerusalem and in Judah. Any of his people among you may go up, and may the Lord, their God, be with them. That's where it ends. So in both cases,
and this is really the beginning of the Nehemiah story, isn't it? When they go back and start to
that's right.
the wall,
that's right.
the city.
So this is written after they've come back from exile, and this is where they're back there now, right? And what they're realizing, and the importance of that little bit in the end of Chronicles, is God did all this. God has engineered all of this. God is God, not just over us. What you've learned lately, particularly from the prophet Daniel, who, remember, predicts the coming and going of the nations.
Yes.
What they've learnt during the exile is that this God of yours isn't just a tribal God. He is the God of all of the earth. Their view of God now has expanded immensely. Now, it's going to be really important for the character of this people. Their vision is going to be enlarged, right? And now that they are understanding this is the God of the whole earth. Who, like, when you look at the coming and going of the nations, this is what they heard from Daniel, and even here, it finishes with this: God rigged all of this.
Yeah.
And may the Lord your God bless you through the mouth of Cyrus. May the Lord your God be with you. And Cyrus is saying this, What an ending
Powerful.
to a story! Because there is always hope. There is always hope.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Thrive Deeper. Our home on the internet is thrivetoday.tv. You can contact us, ask questions, see all our resources and much more at our website thrivetoday.tv. We really appreciate the questions and thoughts about what you're reading as we go through the Bible with Thrive. Until next time, our prayer is that these shows will inspire you to go deeper and thrive.